I recently sailed Holland America Line's Zuiderdam ship, and here's my honest take on this ship. I sailed it on a Baltic itinerary, so it was a long one. I spent about 2 weeks on the ship, so I had an ample opportunity to experience all that it has to offer and to also compare it with other Holland cruise ships and other cruise ships from other lines. Now, there is a lot that I like about Zuiderdam. One, I like that it's smaller in nature. It only accommodates about 1,964 guests, and it's about 936 feet in length. I've recently sailed some Excel class or mega ships from other cruise lines, and getting around this ship felt very easy and refreshing in comparison. The ship is also very modern, at least in looks, because this is an older ship, but it recently underwent a refresh, and it really shows. Everything looked really nice except for some leakage issues, which I'll show you a little bit later. Because of the ship's smaller size and probably the length of the sailing, I never found the Lido deck or buffet to be overly crowded like I do on a lot of other sailings. Now, one thing I don't like about, not necessarily the ship, but Holland in general, is that when it comes to food options, post-COVID, there are now large swaths of time where there are no easily accessible food options. I do like that Holland hasn't cut back like a lot of other cruise lines, and they still do offer 24/7 room service, and it's free without a delivery fee. But those options are pretty limited. And again, there were 2 to 3 hours of gaps of time during the day when the buffet was closed, the MDR was closed, and technically you could get room service, but oftentimes there would be about an hour-long wait. Now, this is one of Holland America's Vista class ships, so again, it's smaller. It's not going to have some of those amenities that the bigger Holland ships do, like the Dutch Cafe, which I did recently get spoiled on when I sailed on New Staterooms. It also doesn't have a separate BB King's nightclub, and I've heard that Holland is starting to phase those out in favor for the Rolling Stone Lounge. The Rolling Stone Lounge for me was okay, but it was a pretty big downgrade from BB King's, which has always been one of my favorite things about Holland America Line. I really do like that there are these little hand washing stations in many places on the Lido and in the buffet area. Now, an issue that frequently occurs on cruise ships are problems with elevators. Not having enough, they're too slow, they get crowded easily. This is the one rare occasion on a cruise ship where I didn't have that problem, which was really nice. Now, of course, the ship is going to have all of the basic amenities that you expect, like a spa and a beauty salon. They also have the crow's nest, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later because I spent quite a bit of time up there. They also have the main stage, which hosts the production shows, a billboard on board, which is for live music. Although in this ship, they only had one piano player. Normally, it's kind of the dueling piano players, so that did feel like a little bit of a cutback. One thing I unexpectedly enjoyed are these ping pong tables. We ended up playing a lot of ping pong. I like that the pool area here has a covered atrium, which is great because this was a Baltic cruise where the temperatures were a little bit erratic, with many days too cool to swim unless the roof was closed. The Zuiderdam does boast 2 outdoor pools and several spa areas, and because this was a longer sailing and again a smaller ship, these areas never felt overly crowded, which was nice and refreshing because that's generally a problem on many cruises that I've taken. Now, another thing that I loved about this ship and this sailing is the staff and the crew. I find Holland America crew to be exceptional, especially compared to some of the other cruise lines, and that was definitely the case on this sailing. I always saw crew working really hard to make sure the ship was clean and well maintained. They were super friendly, and many of them even learned our names over the duration of our 2-week sailing. Another thing that I love about the ship and Holland in general is right here on the Lido deck, you do have the dive-in bar. It's a casual restaurant where you order ahead hamburgers, hot dogs, and fries, which are to die for. And you can order them on the app or you can order them in person. A nice little touch on the ship is that they regularly had tea, lemonade, and water out and available for guests, and towels were also easily accessible. So it's not necessary to schlep them around and bring them from your stateroom, although Holland does of course provide beach towels in each guest stateroom as well. And another nice little touch, especially on a European sailing like this, where there tends to be a lot of rain, is that Holland also provides a golf-style umbrella for guests to use in their stateroom. Now, there are some areas of the ship that do feel a little dated, like the hallways here. And again, I noted this earlier, but the ship has quite a few leaks where there's stains in the carpet and wet spots. Now, also, as I mentioned earlier, the ship was super easy to get around. And yet another nice little Holland touch is the fact that they put the days of the week on the carpet, because every day on a cruise becomes like a blur's day. You lose track of time and get disoriented. Now, up on deck 10 is my favorite area, which is the Explorer's Cafe and the Crow's Nest. And I came up here every day pretty much to play games and get coffee. Look, more wet spots. I find the crow's nest to be one of my favorite areas on every Holland ship that I sail because it's a great way to get a bird's eye view of the surroundings, enjoy a relaxing environment, and play games and do puzzles. Now, this area did tend to get really crowded, especially in the mornings, obviously, but I was delighted to find out that there were a couple of other locations on the ship that served coffee drinks that were much less crowded. Now here's a look at a stateroom. I had an interior room on the first deck and I ended up loving the location. I was midship and being on deck 1, it was super easy on and off on port days, which was great because we had 11 of them. I did end up in an adjoining stateroom and I did not know my neighbors, but I could hear everything, which is a problem with adjoining staterooms. I like that the headboard area here has little switches where you can control the lights easily without having to get out of bed, but like many cruise ship staterooms, I found that the absence of plugs was an issue. There are USB outlets on either side of the bed, and then there is a traditional plug by the vanity area, but there's only 2 of them. They are universal plugs, so you can use US or EU plugs, which was nice, and I found that there was ample closet space with adjustable shelves that you could keep up or pull down, and of course a handy full-length mirror right here. Hey there! And one thing I forgot to mention is the ship has an amazing library. So if you like to relax and not just in your stateroom, that's a wonderful place to do so as well. And there's lots of books that guests can use for free. And here's just some more storage. Again, even on a 2-week cruise, we had more than enough space for 2 people. Now, another thing that I absolutely love about Holland is that compared to the competition, they have amazing options when it comes to movie options and TV options. I know not a lot of people like to watch TV on a cruise, but I do, especially on a long cruise. Settling down at night and watching TV is such a nice way to unwind. And I didn't love the position of this TV, but I did like the fact that it was adjustable. It was also quite a bit bigger than I've seen on other cruise ships. Now, the bathroom here, not exactly a high point. The shower was a little bit wonky. It wouldn't stay up in terms of the shower head. I don't like that these shower curtains are plastic because they tend to stick to your body. And I know a lot of people do like that Holland provides Elemis hair and body wash products, but I don't. I think that the hair products tend to damage my hair, so I don't use them. The bathroom is pretty small, a little bit dated. It doesn't look like it got much of a refresh with the dry dock, and it's pretty tight for 2 people. And then here's a look at the deck plan. And again, I can't stress enough how much I liked the fact that the ship is so easy to navigate. So while it was lacking in some of the amenities of the bigger Holland ships, I love the navigation and I love the spaciousness of this interior stateroom.